everyone, it's Tino here. I wanted to say hello and thank everyone for helping out with the video last week. I had a great time making it and talking with everyone behind the scenes. I've connected with so many people because of that. It's awesome through Facebook, email, even talked to some of you on the phone, which is really cool. And I've also received quite a few questions through Facebook and email as well about how I made the video, what software I use, as well as how I get my drum sound. And I know that Mike gets quite a few questions about this as well, so hopefully with what I post here will help get you started and we can all reference this video. I'll go through some of the basics, and if you have more questions you can email me. But we'll just step it through one step at a time here. And the main thing that that I want to stress, having done this many times and being in studios, is that you want to make sure that your drums sound good to your ear before you start miking. Whether it be changing skins, tuning the kit, trying different types of skins. If it doesn't sound good in the room, it's not going to sound good on the recording. You're basically going to spend hours processing it, adding effects, and that just kills the sound. So if you can get as much raw signal to be recorded as possible, that will yield the best recording for you. So I get quite a few questions about what sort of microphone set I'm using. I'm using a bunch of microphones. I have maybe 14 or 15 different ones. Shure 57, 58s, AKGs, whatever. That doesn't really matter. What matters is the type, like a dynamic, a condenser, the polar pattern, and the quantity of microphones. I suggest getting at least 4. You want to mic the kick, the snare, and have a pair of stereo overheads to get your cymbals and toms. So with 4 microphones, you can get a really decent sound. I'm actually recording a lot of the videos that you see. It's done with 4. You might see more mics around my kit, but only 4 are active. So the quantity of microphones is not really important. It's more the placement and how you mix them. I can show you a little bit of how I do that later. As I mentioned before, there's 2 schools of thought, or at least 2 popular methods, and that is using a mixer or an analog to digital converter. Pros and cons to both. Price, flexibility, that sort of thing. If you're using a mixer, you're going to have a 6-channel, 8-channel mixer. You're going to have 4, 6, 8 mics, whatever. The microphones will be pre-mixed using the faders on the mixer, and then they'll get sent down to 2 channels, left and right stereo, into your sound card. And that's great, that works well, but you really have to play around with the level settings, the faders, to make sure that your snare and kick and toms are all balanced in the mix. Because once you record them, very difficult to increase a snare sound without getting everything else to come up in the level. Equalizing is very good at getting certain frequencies to stick out, but you can't really increase the level of your kick drum without affecting everything else. So the mixer is limited in that respect, where it's the cheaper method, it gets you going faster, but the flexibility lacks. You can use either type of microphone with a mixer. They usually come with the 1/4 inch or XLR input. You can see the difference there. So whatever type of microphone you use should be fine for what most mixers on the market will have. XLR and 1/4 inch inputs. And most mixers will also have phantom power if you're using a condenser mic, and I recommend getting those for your overheads. They're really good for picking up the cymbals and that sort of thing. Very sensitive microphones, and they'll pick up the slightest dynamics, which is really necessary for a drummer, especially if you're doing ghost notes and playing soft and loud on your cymbals. You'll really benefit by having condensers in your microphone collection. Now, you can also go with the A to D converter, and I'm using a Toneport UX8, which is essentially a mixer. I'm going to zoom in on it. Right here, it's an 8-channel mixer. The difference with this is, yes, you can change your levels and use it as a mixer. It also records 8 separate channels simultaneously into your computer. If you're using the right software, let's say like a Cubase, a Pro Tools, I believe, I think Fruity Loops might even work, you'll actually have control over each separate channel. So what I'm doing is I'll have kick, snare, each tom on a separate track, and then cymbals, hi-hat, ride, and overheads, let's say. And I can go in and solo or mute either of the microphones and hear them independently. I can raise the volume, change the EQ, add reverb, do anything you want to each separate channel, as opposed to a pre-mixed song where you can't, like I said before, you can't really increase one drum without affecting the whole mix. So I'll show you that in the software later. For the analog to digital converter will normally go through FireWire or a USB port. USB 2. Make sure your computer is up to date and can support the fast communication with a USB 2. And the FireWire, I believe, is even faster. So if you have FireWire or USB 2, you can use the analog to digital converter and get that right into your computer. You don't need a sound card for that. Okay, so the difference with the mixer is you'll need a sound card unless the mixer has a FireWire or USB, which there are some models that have that. It's more expensive, but you don't need a sound card at that point. You'll need software, because the stuff that comes with Windows or Mac, I believe, it's only going to get you like a sound recorder, which will just record WAV files left and right channel, and that's pretty much it. You can't use independent tracks in that software. It's not designed to do that. So to get a decent, what's called a DAW, digital audio workstation, like Cubase or Pro Tools or Fruity Loops, I believe, can do that. You're gonna have to spend a little money there, and that ranges quite a bit. I'm using Cubase 4. It's an older version. I picked that up from a music store for 150 Canadian, and that pretty much gives me studio quality CD audio, actually better than CD audio, and I have unlimited, pretty much unlimited tracking. I think the software supports 96 channels, and if your processor on your computer is fast enough and you have enough memory in your computer, enough RAM, you can do some really neat stuff.